I want to thank everybody for coming to the March 13th, 2024 meeting of the Fall River Planning Board. Pursuant to the open meeting bylaw, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any media. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made whether perceived or unperceived by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. The city charter, section 9 through 18, mandates that all municipal bodies develop and adopt rules or policy for public comment. We have adopted such a policy, which in short provides for citizen input on planning board specific matters at the end of the meeting. There's a sign-up sheet that is located in the back of the room. With us, we have Nina Kruger, the administrative clerk, Chris Perrano, assistant planner, Craig Salvador with Fall River Government TV, Dan Aguiar, the city engineer, and we'll do a roll call. Gloria Pacheco,
Present.
Beth Andre,
Present.
Mario Luciola,
Present.
Mike Farias,
Present.
and I, John Ferrer, am present as well. Under new business, first item, road reconstruction, Lead Street. Section 66 through 185 city ordinance, considering the roadway reconstruction plan and profile of Lead Street extension. Danny?
So what we have before you here is an existing public way, 40 feet in width, that has a portion of the roadway that has improvements in it. Did not extend to two additional lots that are at the easterly end of Lead Street, which comes off of Norwood Street. It's over in the Talbot Middle School neighborhood. So the applicant is currently before us for site plan review, dealing with the construction of the two homes, which are on either side of Lead Street. And as part of that petition, we explained to him that he would need to come to this board for a roadway reconstruction and extension of Lead Street. So that is what's there before you today. In that application, there were a few waivers of the construction standards that were requested by the applicant. And you'll see that I have given you a letter, fairly detailed, and basically what's in that letter. I don't think you need to get through every section of it. It's some items that need to be addressed and shown on the plan. They're all items that I think have been raised or discussed during site plan review. So basically, once site plan review is completed, anything that's shown on those plans needs to be incorporated on the final plan for you. A lot of it has to do with sewer installation, water installation, everything else. So what the board really needs to look at tonight and act on are the three waivers that were requested. And if you look on the second page of the letter that I submitted to you, I'll just read from it. The applicant has requested three waivers from the planning board's rules and regulations governing roadway construction standards as listed below. Section 6.200, Table 1, waive the required 26-foot wide pavement width for a minor street, allowing a minimum pavement width of 20 feet. 6.205, sidewalks, waive the requirements for the construction of sidewalks. And 6.202, curbing, waive the requirement for Cape Cod for curbing, Cape Cod berm for curbing. The Engineering and Planning Department offers the following with regards to the requested waivers. A minimum pavement width of 20 feet shall be provided throughout Lead Street and shall be shown on the revised plans. There is no requirement for sidewalks in a minor street unless the opinion of the planning board they are necessary for safe pedestrian travel. It is our recommendation that sidewalks are not required. Submitted waiver request lists a waiver for curbing entirely. However, Cape Cod berm is shown through a portion of Lead Street on the submitted plans. It is our recommendation that Cape Cod berm be required as indicated on the plan and that the detail referenced be added to the plan. So in the typical roadway cross-section, it does label out bituminous Cape Cod berm C detail, but I did not see that specific detail, so just to add that detail on there. So what we have is basically extending, and you'll see there are some photographs that I put in your package that bring you progressively down Ledge Street for approximately 100, maybe 150 feet-ish or so. There is some traveled way. That needed to be extended a certain number of feet to get you past the property boundary line of the two lots in question. So we normally require a construction of about 30 feet of street in front of your lot to provide access. So that requirement has been met. So I think what the board should look at after listening to the statements of the different boards, different abutters, that you make a recommendation with regards to the waivers. Also, in relation to the typical cross-section, there were a couple of dimensions, I think, that are a little bit off. But from what I read, the minimum width of the traveled way would be 20 feet, and then 1 foot of berm on either side. So that typical cross-section will get cleaned up correctly based upon that waiver if the board does grant it. So I think the best thing to do now is let the applicant give you a presentation, and then listen to whatever any of the abutters have to say about the project.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, my name's Peter Lavoy. I work with Landmark Site Design, and we're out of Taunton, Mass. So I'm here tonight representing Brad Camara, who's in the back of the audience. So, like Dan had mentioned, there's an existing street, Lead Street, which runs basically 150 feet long, and it has pavement roughly 24 feet wide down that area, but it's patchy. If you looked at photos, you can see that. So what we're proposing is roughly 39 linear feet of extension of the road, which would be 20 feet wide, and then 1 foot berm. And the reason why I proposed the 1 foot berm was basically if you go out there in a storm event, all the water runs down the street, and the berm at the end will kind of channel the water into the little settling pond that I'm proposing at the end, and then kind of fill up, and then like a little level spreader to go out. Because right now that water runs down Lead Street and just goes right into the woods with no treatment. There's in it, no mitigation, no treatment at all. So I feel that the little settling pond at the end will collect it and then kind of mitigate that runoff. Like Dan had mentioned, we are proposing for the 2 house lots at the end of the road, we're proposing a 2-inch force main to go up the street to Norwood Street. And then we're also proposing a 2-inch water line that will service the 2 new lots, and we're going to provide an additional stub for 93 Norwood Street. That would be the only water service that comes off of Lead Street. There is an existing gas service that comes down to, I think, 93 Norwood. Most likely the 2 new lots will also have a new for gas. But that's basically it. So we're here just for the extension of that road, and then I guess also kind of the construction of that little settling pond to treat the runoff that flows down that street, and then the 3 required waivers that we requested. It's basically
So we're
it.
abandoning the existing water service to 93.
I think that was the recommendation of the engineering department, putting in a new stub
And
off
feeding,
of.
and feeding that one.
Yes, yep.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I can add, so one of the comments that we had is requesting that, because when you look at the pictures, it's not clear, specifically on the plan, where the edge of pavement falls, where some concrete aprons are, where some crushed stone areas are, what size patch needs to be cut out for the water line utility. Sewer, I think, was gonna be installed outside the paved surface in the shoulder, so that'll save some work. So in order to determine what pavement, we know what pavement needs to be added to the end, but looking at what pavement needs to be restored, we kinda need to know where are the limits now of asphalt. Specifically, because the gas company just went in and put approximately a 9-foot patch
I was gonna say, there's already a
down the
trench there,
southerly
yeah.
end of the street. So, of course, we don't want to touch that. So if we're going to be putting a water line in outside of that patch, and we want to clean up the northerly side, it may make sense, depending upon how wide. We're not going to run a 4-foot patch of water line,
Right.
leaving 4 feet on either side of it.
After they
So
just did the
on-
gas as
Once we
well.
get to see on the plan where pavement is, new pavement, concrete driveways, pavement on the north side a little bit more clear, then we can determine what will be the requirements for getting you back out to Norwood Street. We know it's at least gonna be the water patch, which is probably gonna be at least 4 to 6 feet wide.
Yep.
So, once we get those lines marked on a plan, I think we'll be able to determine where the limits of that go. However, that can be, approved conditionally upon site plan review being satisfied with it. But as far as the waivers go, I see no issue with the board acting one way or the other with the waivers tonight. All of the other items are really utility related. The drainage system proposed, I think you'll see has been accepted. The individual lots themselves, and I'm sure this is gonna be a concern of some of the abutters, they're all required to have their own stormwater mitigation design, but that's not before you tonight. So the lots get developed separately from what you're looking at. What you're seeing tonight is the roadway extension, the utilities in the roadway, and the drainage at the end of the road. What I'll offer again before we have any abutters give up any comment, currently now, the majority of the stormwater on this site and the land to the east runs easterly and southerly. The construction of the road, the drainage system, the swale, the houses, and the drainage systems and the grading required for those actually eliminates stormwater from being directed southerly and would head more directly easterly into the large wooded area associated with Talbot Middle School. So I'm sure that'll be some of the concern, but I at least wanted to give you that information prior to having to respond to it later.
All right.
That's all that I have.
Any of the board members have any questions
Yeah.
before we go to the,
Yeah, I just have a couple of
Go ahead, Mike.
questions, and Dan or yourself can answer them. I'm assuming this is just a dead-end water, and it's not a loop system, it's just gonna be pushed down to these two homes, and
That's correct.
Yeah,
So the water lines shown here, it's basically water, it's a water service.
Okay.
And the sizing and the layout of it was directed by the Department of Community Utilities,
Okay.
which handles water, sewer, and stormwater.
And you're correct, I know this area, the actual road itself on Norwood, you actually have sidewalks, but you have kind of and it's shown in one of your photos here. Maybe it's a hodgepodge, I don't know how it came about, but it looks like there's some concrete of a sidewalk in front of the first property. And you can see it on Google Map as well, and then it's kind of broken up with the asphalt and such not. So, again, I'm not sure if it's on the,
Yeah. No,
you know where it is.
Yeah, because what happens is when you come in on the right-hand side, there's
Yeah.
actually a little crushed stone area, then there's a concrete apron, and then it goes to some pavement, then another concrete apron. So seeing where those lines fall on this plan, I think will definitely help. But as far as the sidewalks go, specifically in the sections of
Yeah,
the planning board rules and regulations, 6.202,
yeah,
it clearly states that sidewalks are not required on minor streets
Yeah.
unless the board determines that for pedestrian access, it is required.
yeah, I'm just asking if this is servicing as a sidewalk on here, and is it for this particular residence? And then the second one, doesn't seem like the garage and a little further down, on the, I believe it's the west side, whether that needs sidewalk or access to it, but, again, I just think it needs to be considered, define what it is. If it is, and we have it there right now, then, it needs to remain, but if not, then, again, I understand sidewalks are not required on that, but if there's already an existing one, so it's kind of your judgment call whether you constitute that as a sidewalk or not. But basically, those are my two comments to that, the loop, the water system. Oh, and the last one, I had a third one here, I'm sorry, is just the location of fire hydrant location in and around these new facilities. I'm assuming it's somewhere on Norwood.
Norwood Street, correct.
It is, okay.
Yep.
And that's within the distance, site plan, distance requirements.
Yep.
To be able to service a potential fire in the future.
Yep. One question I had, and this was, and I went out there 3 times, but I didn't look, but then when I looked on Street View, as soon as you turn down Ledge, the house on your right, it actually shows a hydrant there.
Yeah,
I'm
but
assuming
that-
that's
that-
decorative for,
Yeah, I don't think that's. a-
very dangerous, because when the fire department pulls up, and they're assuming they can attach to a hydrant and play around for an hour trying to get nozzles attached and everything else and find out, hey, you know what, this is a planter, not a hydrant, so.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Very dangerous situation to have a hydrant sitting somewhere on the edge of a street that's not live.
Yeah.
But again, I think it's on private property. I don't think it's within.
Yeah, no, I
in
don't
the
think it,
way. Okay,
no.
yeah. So if you, even if you show that, might help.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
All set, Mike?
Yep.
Anyone else? Any other questions? All right, anybody from the audience, any of the abutters, have any comments or concerns that they'd like to, anything that they might not have heard this gentleman clarify, or Dan, the city engineer?
Mr. Chairman, I would, before anybody speaks, this is for the roadway reconstruction. Has nothing to do with the construction of single-family homes.
Right.
That's not before this board. Just want to make sure that you understand that.
Could you come up? We're all set.
Okay.
I just need you to state your name and address, please. Put you on TV.
That's what I didn't want.
That's all right.
Thank you.
Very good.
My name is Karen Souza. I live at 60 Melrose Street. I just have one question.
Sure.
We know that there's ledge there.
Yep.
The road, I believe, stops because there's a big rock there. Maybe it couldn't go any further. My concern is what methods are going to be used to remove the ledge to continue the road. That's it.
So, Mr. Chairman, what ends up happening is ledge removal will, if ledge removal is required, that will fall under building department regulations, fire department regulations. So if blasting is required, of
Especially
course,
the permit,
it
yeah.
goes through that, and it goes through a series of, studies that the ledge companies have to provide, investigating people's basements and documentation. So that's, again, that's a process beyond the planning board requirements.
Okay. Any other abutter wish to voice a concern, or? Okay, I guess not.
And Peter, just to be sure, so I think for the roadway construction and swale, it doesn't appear though, it seems like you're skirting that outside edge of the ledge, correct?
Correct,
Yeah,
correct, I'm
okay.
not
Yeah.
cutting.
Well, it might be in the ground yet, but I don't think you're going deep enough to create a problem for it, yeah.
Okay.
Have you guys done any perk tests or anything like that?
We did do soil testing, we did like, six test holes
Mhm.
in ledges, 4 feet,
Okay.
so we're taking that into account, we took that into account when we, designed the lots itself, but that was the reason why, we went with a force main, instead of putting gravity sewer in,
Mhm.
because we knew that there was ledge out there and we didn't want to pass it.
But how about the swale that you're proposing for?
The swale is more of a fill, there's a depression,
Mhm.
and then we're just filling the end to kind of hold it, and then, but we're not really cutting for the swale.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you look on the plan, Mike, they do show deep test hole number 2. It's basically right in the middle of the swale.
Yep.
And when you look at the proposed contouring, what they're really doing is berming up around what would be the depressed area to provide some stabilization. The same thing on the lots, there will be some filling and then swales that direct stormwater around the proposed houses.
Okay.
Good. So do I have a motion from the board on the 3 items that we discussed, which is the 26-foot wide pavement down to 20, waiving the requirement for the sidewalks, and waiving the requirement for the Cape Cod berm, other than what is there? Do I have a motion either way from the board?
Can I ask, when is this gonna get started?
I'm sure he was hoping it was gonna get started 3 months ago, but
It's got to go through all this process and everything, and building inspector and so on and so forth before you can get anything.
Theoretically, 30, 45 days.
Yeah.
As long as revised plans come in and they're adequate and everybody approves them, then I think at that point, they'll be waiting for us to give them their permits. This was one of the hurdles to get past.
And at the end of the day, we own it as a city,
Yes, it is a city street, yeah.
again. I approve it based on your recommendations.
So we have an approval by Mike, second,
I second that.
by Gloria. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Okay. Unanimous.
Thank you. If you guys want to get together with Paul Furlan's office specifically, because you can
Thank you all
see
for coming.
most of the comments are his outstanding comments. Yep. Give me a call, and we'll set up a table with everybody and iron these things out and be done. Now that you know what you're gonna work with here, clean that up, okay? Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, a Form A, application for endorsement of plan believed not to require approval, A&R plan of land, file number 24-1571. Owner applicant, VMD Industrial for FR LLC. Property location, 0 Innovation Way. Assessors map, W-19, lots 185, 191, and 192.
I didn't see you sitting there all casual, with your head down. I'll give you a quick little update.
It's kind of nice, thank you.
Mr. Board members. So this is part of the, what was the redevelopment authority's properties through Innovation Way that were subdivided, been through site plan review, have orders of conditions ready to construct. There was a potential buyer for one of these parcels that needed the rear of the parcel to be reshaped a little bit. So what they'll be doing is basically creating, I think it's 3 parcels, right? That shift the rear lot line of parcel 185 and swapping it with some land from 191, which is actually a conservation restriction parcel. So they had to actually go through a very lengthy process through the state to allow this lot line to change. That's taken place. So this is a minor A&R, not creating any new lots, not changing any frontage, just a swap of some area along the rear lot line and a conveyance of 3 separate parcels to create the size parcel that this developer needs to meet building setbacks.
All right. So you can state your name.
Couldn't
and
have said it better for myself.
State your
The
name and
plan look-
address.
The plan looks scary, but it's
I know.
really not much there.
Mr. Chairman, members of the planning board, Brian Dunn with MBL Land Development and Permitting with offices at 5 Bristol Drive in southeastern Mass. Thank you for having us here this evening. As your city engineer just described to you, it actually is a little bit of a land swap to create a little bit more land for the conservation restriction area and use areas that would unlikely be developed and keep that and move that into the conservation restriction area. And as Dan said, we went through state legislation to get this approved for the conservation restriction to be amended. So this is the plan that follows that approval from the state. So that's really what we're trying to do. We're not creating any new lots, we're just swapping small little areas, about 3 of them, so that additional land can be put into the conservation restriction and then utilize, land that's in the upland area for the proposed development. You might remember when we were in front of you before, this is, roughly 4 lots that it will house 4 300,000 square foot buildings. So I know that VMD is actively, working with developers and builders to, sell off the lots and get these lots under construction as soon as possible. I think Lot 1 and Lot 2 will be the first ones to go.
I'm gonna say, I knew it looked familiar. I knew it came before.
Yeah,
You don't see lot lines.
No, I'm like, it looks
And so
familiar.
just for size and scale, again, I think this is a 150 scale? Or
I think it's 160.
Yeah,
It's
so-
it's actually ginormous.
Yeah, it's big. Yeah.
So we're in the process of, right now, that you'll see some activity out there, reestablishing the silt fence, the turtle sweeping is still going on for the conservation areas as part of that natural heritage requirement. And we should be out there this Friday installing the bounds that are needed and the signs for the conservation restriction area.
Good. Any questions from the board?
I just have a couple of questions. So basically, it seems like the larger parcel of land to the left is pretty much wetlands.
Yes.
And so it looks like you're kind of conveying the non-buildable areas into one lot, the buildable into another. And so I just noticed that on that little bubble, there is wetlands going into the buildable lot portion of it. And I'm sure you're gonna go through site plan approval. I haven't seen the buildings or the plans in the future, but I'm sure that'll all.
I apologize, I highlighted mine, so
Oh, okay, yeah.
what's before you is these three. This
Yeah.
lot that's the conservation restriction lot,
Gotcha.
which did do this.
Okay, so you
So,
just basically.
so
chose-
this square
Yeah.
is coming out of that piece, and so this
Yeah.
is the new lot line.
Gotcha.
So these three pieces are getting swapped.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what about this lot?
That's existing.
That's an existing
Yep.
lot that's out there?
Everything out here is an existing lot, these are the three parcels that are getting created and conveyed.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's really, Michael, it's really a small little land swap back and forth.
You know how to deal with that.
Amen.
You need a little more room behind a building.
No,
And
no,
what it does, it does protect the CR that's
Yeah.
there, protects the environment, and also allows for a little bit more room for upland development for the 4 lots.
And I'm assuming this went through the Conservation Commission?
Yes.
and all
Yes.
that portion
Order
of
of
it?
conditions for construction of 4
Yes.
2 or 300,000 square foot buildings, site plan review for all of them. This has been
Yeah.
2
Been
years.
a couple of years, and we also
And-
did
And
this.
if they built the building that was initially laid out, which was conceptually,
Yeah,
no issue. But now when we have someone that comes in that wants to build a building that's a little bit squarer and not as long, you
Yeah.
need a little bit more depth.
Right.
So rather than
Gotcha.
going and seeking a zoning variance, this is the right way to do it.
And if the board remembers through the chair, the town line is going vertical, west to east here. And the cold storage that's in Freetown is also serviced by the city of Fall River with the utilities. So this development would also do the same thing. So we worked with the city and the water and sewer department for all the connections and so on and so forth. And we also have site plan approval and conservation commission approval in the town of Freetown for lot 3 lot number 3.
So it sounds like all the bases are covered on both sides.
We're trying, Mr.
On both
Chairman.
sides of the line.
We're trying.
Let's hope this does it.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say, I remember it coming here.
Don't come back and tell me they're gonna want 5 feet
Yeah,
more
right.
in this
You're
building.
gonna build high rises.
You
Any
never
other-
know.
I know
Any other
they-
questions?
Making a motion we approve the A&R plan as submitted. However, on the application, page 1, deed of property recorded in, it says Bristol County North. It's Bristol County Fall River, correct?
South,
This is a
yeah,
typo.
Bristol
Is
County.
it south?
That's
Okay.
New Bedford, south is New Bedford. We're Fall River.
Is
Bristol
Fall River,
County,
is
Fall
that
River
how it's laid
District.
out? Okay,
Yeah, so it says north there on page 1,
okay,
section 4. So it should say Bristol County, Fall River District,
gotcha.
correct?
That's an attorney's.
I was gonna say, that's a definite.
That's an attorney, yeah.
Input right there.
But I make the motion, we approve the A&R submitted. Is that what-
Thank you so much.
Yeah, the big bucks.
And we had attorneys look at the application before we
We
sent
all
it.
make mistakes.
Hey, man, we all do.
But we got
Did
the
I say
best
it on
one.
Yeah.
TV? Oops.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion by Gloria, second by Mario, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank
Motion
you so
granted.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So can I get the Mylar signed
Yeah,
today?
You guys wanna sign it before, actually, you know
I
what,
need to
tomorrow, because we have to
scan
scan it in once it gets signed in.
Okay.
So, they'll sign it tonight, we'll scan it into our computer
I
system
have to
tomorrow.
come back to the city again.
Somebody has to.
It's
come
so
get it.
far from Somerset. It's so nice to
Listen,
be able.
if you come tomorrow is Pi Day,
Pie Day?
3/14.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
So,
That's
if you
right.
come to the engineering department tomorrow, you can get Pi.
Excellent,
And
excellent.
if you can provide the calculations to calculate the circumference of a Major League Baseball, you will be entered into a contest to win a $100 gift card.
Okay.
Wow.
So,
Thank you.
that went out to all.
There's a lot of perks from coming over that
See
bridge.
that,
See
huh?
that? So-
See the benefits
That's right.
of the new
But you have to
city
be an employee,
engineer?
you have to be an employee to enter the
Yeah.
contest, but you can come out
Tomorrow's,
Pi.
tomorrow's Pi
Pi
Day,
Day.
3.14,
Yeah.
1592654,
Nina,
something like that.
have at it. She's been practicing.
I have been, 'cause I
2 years,
thought that was
2
the
years ago,
question.
you had to show up and you had to go,
I got
you had to
you.
provide
GDT
10
later,
digits.
you could
10
just-
digits, yeah.
So she didn't know it was gonna be different this year.
3.14,
I
something
knew
like
the
that.
first 28.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was just trying to beat Chris. I thought he was my only competition.
Yeah.
Thank you
All right,
very
thank
much,
you.
everybody.
Thank you for
Thank you.
coming.
Have a great evening.
Thank you.
All right, third on the agenda, Form A, application for endorsement of plan believed not to require approval, and our plan of land. File number 24-1572, owner applicant 118-120 Jefferson Street Realty Trust, property location 118-120 Jefferson Street, Assessors Map F-4, Lot 27.
So this is one of the standard proposed A&R subdivision plans that nobody on this board likes, but understands that it's a necessary evil. So in August of 2023, special permit was granted for the subdivision of this lot that contained 2 multifamily dwellings constructed prior to I forget what it was, is it 45? See how far it is since I've had to deal with this stuff?
54.
What is it?
54.
54, I knew 2 of those numbers. So it went through that process, received the special permit was recorded in the Registry of Deeds. That gives them permission to subdivide. This plan illustrates that subdivision in accordance with that special permit, calls out all the requirements for easements and access as the way it was required in the special permit. However, they did not provide the building setbacks to the new property line. So usually when somebody buys a piece of land, the first thing they're gonna look at is the plan and say, okay, I can at least get an idea of off this house corner, I'm this far away. So we did reach out to the engineer, Alex Gorodetsky and Steve Roy, explained to them our request for needing these setbacks added to the plan. I explained to them that the plan, once they get it to us, that if you voted so this evening, it can be conditional upon the receipt of the plan with building setbacks, and that the chairman could sign it at that point if you were all okay with that. He was unable to, we only called him today with it. I apologize, I didn't review it until today. But he said over the next few days he'll get us a new Mylar.
I haven't seen Steve in a while. I didn't even know he was back.
Yeah, well, no, he's not. But- So Alex
Alex is-
sends all of this stuff to California, or Arizona, wherever it is, and then he sends it all back. That's why getting something in a day,
Oh,
a
okay, that's
Mylar,
why.
an emailed copy is fine. But
Yep.
an actual Mylar signed, it's impossible to get in a day.
At least it's 10 foot wide.
What's that?
At least the
Yeah,
easement is 10
and you'll
foot.
see that there are easements along each way, there are requirements that no fences can be put up. So, the easements allow to make sure that all the utilities can be installed, access for parking is still provided, but that's all through the special permit part.
These are already 2 existing,
Houses, yes.
yeah,
Yep.
Yeah. Just splitting them up.
yeah, no.
And
All
I,
right,
and
any
I understand
questions?
these create more heartache and headache than there was sometimes, but the law's the law. Right, Gloria?
Yes.
My only gripe was access to the back building. That was my only gripe
That
ever.
problem exists now whether or not we subdivide the property, same access.
But some we've subdivided with 4 foot of easement to get to the back house.
Oh,
You
okay,
can't even get
that's di-
paramedics
that's
in there.
different, That's different, okay.
So, all right, do we have a motion to approve the A&R?
Application does say Bristol County Fall River.
This one? Thanks.
Motion by Beth, second.
I second.
By Gloria, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Next, approval of the minutes from February 14th meeting.
Right, I'm sorry, guys.
What?
Okay, I reviewed the minutes.
Yeah.
I did not record who motioned what when last week. But for number 1, it says Mario made the motion and I second. I thought it was the reverse. And then on another one, I thought it was also the other way around. And again, I did not record it, but can you just double check your records? Or anyone else have any comment on this? No? No one remembers?
Nope.
I'm on the pain?
I wasn't present.
Yeah, you weren't.
My
We'll have
double
Nina
check,
go through.
but
We'll watch
I-
the whole meeting over again. I think it was 7 minutes long, so. We'll all watch it together tomorrow.
In good conscience,
I
just
can
gotta-
double check it, but
Let's
in my
table it.
notes, that's what I
Yeah, we'll
had.
table, just
I'm
make a
sorry.
motion to table
No,
it
it's
to the
fine.
next meeting.
I make a motion, we table it.
Okay. Motion to table by Gloria, second
second.
by Mario. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry.
And now we have citizens' input. We don't have, I don't believe we have any. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, boy.
We'll talk about the next item.
Second by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, as well. Thank you and have a good evening.
Sorry, guys.